And so now let's talk about the dominant view of public relations. We talk about, and let's talk about how we use the dominant view of public relations in terms of, how we use persuasion. So persuasion is used to stabilize hostile opinions. It uses latent and positive opinions, and it's used to maintain favorable opinions. Persuasion should be a dialogue between points of view in a marketplace of public opinion. There are 6 principles of persuasion. We have the liking principle, we have reciprocity, we have social proof, consistency, scarcity, and authority. And so when we talk about liking, right, we talk about people like those who like them. Reciprocity, it talks about people repaying in kind, right? And the book uses this example of self-addressed envelopes within an organization I think it was a veterans organization that was soliciting donations. And their response rate increased significantly because they included a self-addressed envelope. And so that's the concept of reciprocity. Social proof is about setting examples. It says that setting examples results in more people responding in the same manner. Consistency, where people value written or public commitments more than other commitments. So if they've agreed to something in writing or in public, they are more likely to follow through with that commitment. Scarcity, obviously, people value things when they become rare. Things are hot when they're in limited quantities. And then authority, people value expert opinions. Now let's talk about persuasion in terms of negotiation. I love Scandal. I think Scandal, obviously, as a public relations professional, it's just a fun show to watch. But you also, very early on from watching that show, I was dead set on going to law school and also becoming a lawyer because I felt like a lot of times public relations professionals find themselves in a place where they could definitely benefit from having a law degree. And one of those places is now coming to be negotiation. So in many conflicts, before a particular issue goes to court or before you, even a labor dispute, you have to go through mediation. And that's an alternative form of dispute resolution. And now a lot of public relations professionals are getting involved in dispute resolution. And instead of contacting an attorney to basically go through a negotiation process, large organizations are involving their public relations professionals to really sit down at the table and help mitigate some of these crises and go through the negotiation process to come to some sort of resolution. And in that form, public relations professionals not only are a lot of times just as effective because we have a lot of knowledge. I mean, there's always peripheral knowledge in what we do of legal ramifications, right? As I talked about in our last class, one of the things that as public relations professionals we try and do for our organizations is to make sure that they stay out of trouble, right? And make sure that they don't do anything that could lead them to get sued or take any financial loss. So while we're doing that, obviously we have to be versed on the law in our particular field. And so while we may not hold a doctoral degree or a Juris Doctor degree or be lawyers, we have a lot of that knowledge. And obviously we're going to negotiate in the best interest of our client. So in that, we can also be a much more cost-effective option when it comes to negotiation. So now let's talk about how we formulate some of these persuasive messagings. There's various persuasive techniques when you're forming your arguments, when you're crafting your messaging, and I'll go through some of those for you. There's the yes technique, right? Which is developing logically structured propositions with positive outcomes. And to simplify that, it means basically that getting an agreement to a basic premise yields a greater possibility of agreement to a to a different premise down the line, right? So it's like saying, it's like in a court of law, right? When you're cross-examining a witness, the witness might not agree to the or even a suspect. You're cross-examining a suspect, and so obviously a suspect isn't going to automatically say that they committed a murder. But your job as a lawyer is to lead this suspect through a chain of events and establish a likelihood that they may have committed this crime, right? Because in a court of law, really it's about proving someone's guilt. You don't have to get that person to agree that they're guilty, but you're proving that there's a really strong chance that this person committed this crime. And so let's just lay out a scenario. A woman is murdered in her home. The police get there and they talk to a witness that says that your primary suspect was seen leaving the scene of the crime at a particular hour. Your forensics people determine that the cause of that the time of death of this particular person is right around the same time that your suspect was in the home, and so you start off by basically establishing your case, and you ask that suspect while they're on the stand, and you say, is it true that you were at, right? That you were there? Is it true that you were there at this time? Is it true that, this is your relationship with this person? Is it true that? And as you go through this series of questions, right, it's a yes or no answer. There is no explanation, right? And so you're getting them to agree to these basic premises that lead up to form a greater picture. And so that's really kind of what this yes response or this yes technique is, right? You start off with agreement to these basic principles, and then you lead up to either establishing a case or getting a yes on the larger items. Second technique is offering a structured choice, which is basically a proposition leading to very limited choices. Your choices are A or your choices are B. The next technique is seeking partial commitment, where you offer several choices in exchange for a partial commitment, right? So this is kind of what we see when people offer these trial offers on stuff. It's like, well, you don't have to agree to sign a 1-year contract now, but, feel free to try our product for 30 days and let us know how you like it. So that's a partial commitment because you're getting them to at least committing to trying the product, even if it's free. And the hope is that by trying the product, you'll get to the greater commitment. The next technique is ask more, settle for less. A lot of us use this particular technique when we're asking for a raise at our job, right? So if I'm making $35,000 a year and I know I need a significant amount of money, to make ends meet, I want a lot more money. When I go in with my boss, I'm going to outline all the things that I do, and I'm going to say, well, you know what, so-and-so, all of this work at another firm is valued at $70,000. Now, my goal isn't necessarily to get $70,000. My goal might just be to get 55. But by offering 70, this person is going to be like, oh, wow, wait, they want 70,000? I guess offering them 40 just isn't going to work. So that's kind of offer more, settle for less. Now let's talk about types of persuasive speeches. And I love persuasive speeches. When I teach 1402, the Intro to Communications course that basically everybody has to take at some point or another, it's one of my favorite speeches to teach about because I think that in life, everything is persuasion. And if you know how to craft a persuasive speech, you're going to know how to get by in life, because you'll know all the tactics to persuade people to do anything, basically. And so there are one-sided speeches and there are two-sided speeches. And one-sided speeches are kind of the best for if you're within a friendly audience. If you know that you're giving a speech to people that already have similar beliefs on a particular issue, all you worry about is reinforcing their current beliefs. These are the rah-rah speeches. And those speeches are, again, great for friendly audiences. But a two-sided speech is great when you have an audience that is mixed company, right? That everybody might not believe what you believe on a certain issue, or you might have people that are on the fence, or you might have people, that just don't have an opinion one way or the other, and so you want to persuade them to fall in line with what you think. And for that, again, a two-sided speech kind of captures something for all of those audiences. So in a two-sided speech, you basically talk about all sides of an issue, the sides that you're for, the sides that you're against, and then you offer up a reason why your belief is the best. And so what happens when you talk about all sides of an issue is you increase your you increase your likelihood of being thought of as credible, as objective, and by the same token, when you talk about counter arguments, you're able to frame those counter arguments. You're basically able to frame the opponent's arguments, right, in your favor. And so again, those speeches are really effective, and so it's something that you guys should really become familiar with. And also all the techniques that we talked about just a few moments ago. So there have been various findings in persuasion research regarding persuasion concepts. And so here are some of them. Positive appeals are more effective than negative appeals. Simple messages are better propagated through television and radio. Appeals involving complex topics are more effective through print media. Messages propagated emotionally or in the form of fear are most effective when the audience has minimal interest in the topic. And so it's all about, when people are uninterested, it's all about catching their attention. And so an emotional appeal to people is more likely to catch their attention. Logical appeals are most effective in an educated public, and altruistic needs are a strong motivator. People want to do good, and so when you're encouraging people to continue to do good, it's a strong motivator.